Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th. I hope you're not superstitious or you're going to have to crawl in under your bed and hide for today. I was just a little bit late because they just do this War Department briefing right now. It's like, come on, right now? They seem to be doing it exactly when I do my update, so 8:05 Eastern. Anyway, so we're looking at the market. We're just looking at Pepe this morning. Definitely on the upside. They were down in the overnight, and now they looks like they got a little bit of mojo back. But they were down here at that lower support area, 66.40s in the overnight, showing a little bit of strength. But we are still in the shitty territory, if you wish, in terms of the market trading back up again. So right now, going into a Friday, yeah, we've got some stuff going on. It's end of the week, but we also have a bunch of news coming out. So we got at 8:30 in a few minutes, we get durable goods, GDP, personal income and outlays, all that coming out at 8:30. And this is the, let me see, this is the, is it the second read? I think should be the second read of that, but it's a GDP number coming out at 8:30. Personal income and outlays, that's where you have your inflation index, inflation number. Then at 10 o'clock, we get consumer sentiment and job openings. So that's what we got going right now in this morning. So fairly busy news morning, and that could certainly change the dynamics. Right now, you can see the overnight with way down here into these lower areas, and it's been not a great scenario at all. So we're looking at the market still kind of leaning towards the short side. Looking at the market still leaning towards the short term, the short side of things. You can see how this overnight has been retracing pretty much the whole overnight session, right up here to the upper end of the session. So what I would do is I would stay on the short side, look for early strength, and I would watch this area right there, the 67.60s. If they can scratch up above this area here, these two resistance areas, I think we are in good shape. But if they stay below it, I would probably stay on the short side of this, looking to sell strength. But we have strength right now, and I mean this strength can certainly translate into something stronger. It's all going to be, I think, related to the in the short term for the day session for the related to the news because we got some significant news coming out this morning. And if everything is good there and the market reacts positive to it, we have a shot at getting up above that 60s again. But right now, the way I'm looking at it, I would look to sell strength against the 67 right now at the 6,700, 6710s, 6730, 40, 50 up to the 60s here. All those areas looking for short shout for rotations back down. If they start moving higher here to test these areas, it's going to feel very much like the market is rallying, and that could certainly set up a couple of long trades as they move this higher. But just realizing the bigger picture, I'm still looking for short setups against these areas. I'm still thinking they had to get up above that 60s before we really change our dynamic on the long side, dynamic on the or bias, if you wish, to the back to range bound or the long side of the market. So given everything's going on, it's a Friday, wrapping up a week, and we definitely have a few things coming up in the news side of things. So it could go a couple of different ways. I mean, if the news reaction is positive, we can certainly have the market that takes out the 60s and stays up above it, ends up in a very positive close on the Friday. If not, we're probably going to stick in this range below the 60s, but above the 66.50s, and just go sideways in the range. That would be the dud reaction on the news. And if for some reason the market is spooked going into the weekend, we may see them test these lows and maybe have a weak close of the trading day. I would just start off range bound right now, looking for early strength. Well, start off range bound with a bias to the downside, given what's happened in the last few days. I'm going to look for early strength to get short for rotations back down again. On the way up here, if they take out the 67.10s, running it up to the 30s could be a nice long trade in there, a little go with type of trade. Same thing moving this higher to resistance. thinking about this morning. It is a pretty positive sign that the overnight has retraced all the way from the low at 66.40 all the way up to 6,700. But this is the overnight. So as the day session kicks in, we'll get a sentiment for what the general market thinks, especially after we have the news and the inflation read come out. So, and on the way down, I would look to buy against support with a bit of caution, 66.85s, the 70s, 60s, 50s, down to the 66.40s for rotations back up. But a little bit of caution on those buying opportunities. Capital flow is kind of pointed lower in the short term. So you have a potential move out of the middle to the downside right now. You can see it setting up here on the capital flow chart. So it looks like a potential move out of the middle to the downside. And unless if they start taking out that 66.40s and start trading below it, I'm just going to stay on the short side and see how far I want to take it. So watch these lower areas, the 66.50 and the 40s. If both of them comes out, bets are off. We are heading lower. If they trade up above the 60s, I think we may go back towards the long side of the market and see if they can start retracing back up again. Other than that, I'm going to start off with that bias to the downside, looking for early strength to get short against for rotations back down. So there are a few different opportunities, but enough range to get on both sides of this. But if you look at the bigger picture, I would not be super excited buying the market when they start running up to the 50s and 60s. I would be a lot less aggressive on that one. Right? If you're going to get long for a move higher, you have to get in reasonably early on that one. Don't chase it towards the end of the run. Because once you hit the 50s and 60s, you're probably going to running in at the end of the run if the reverse retest is going to hold. So that's kind of the dynamic going on there. All right. Hope that wasn't too confusing, but there's a few different options there with the way the market can go. But the structurally, I'm still thinking overall short side of the market. And then we'll see how strong this little overnight is and if they can keep this going. Looking at the NASDAQ. They were down there, reverse retesting the 650s right now. So also a pretty in the overnight, we're back range bound on that guy. If you can get up above that 120s, 130s, then we're going to be leaning on the long side on that guy. But right now, starting off the same way, given the overnight, looking for early strength to get short against, right? $650s and the that 780s. Always include that on the NASDAQ. And as it starts trading higher, still looking for shorts against the up all the way up to this upper area. So you see, we are kind of above that here, but 120, so a little bit above where I'm at right now. But so all these areas up here, you can look for short setups as you approach them. Given that we are pretty much in the range right there and running up to an upper area of resistance, and that's pretty much the approach on the NASDAQ. So I think the key thing for that market right now is to get up above that 670s. If they can do that, we go back range bound and trade this as we are trading in this range. As long as they stay below that 670s, we are staying on, is keeping the bias to the short side. And as usual, just keep that one level outside the obvious, the 770s, just available, just in case you get a little bit more run than you think. Now, as you start, if they start taking out the 710s here and start retracing, definitely opportunities for long trades. Just a little bit cautious that you don't buy into these resistance areas right there. Just as you start taking out an area, that's when you want to try to get on the bandwagon if you're going to try a trade like that. But NASDAQ is in a little bit better shape than the ES. And on the way down, I would look to buy against support, against the right now the 600s, the 540s, 480s down to the 400s for rotations up. With a bit of caution on the NASDAQ side. If they take out this low, the 390, 400 area, so these three levels on the bottom, this whole area on the bottom end comes out, Bets are off, staying on the short side. Just that's going to be one of those elevator down days. So it's a Friday the 13th. We had to be a little bit cautious about that, but I'm thinking that we have a good shot. A little bit of good news today. We can may have a shot at closing strong. But I would still keep that bias to the downside at least up to midday and see how the market develops, and then we'll see how we need, if we need to adjust anything from there. So on the bond side of things, not much to say. Bond market is kind of tight in the range right now against the fund 14, so they're below the point below the attractor area right now. So yields kind of down, and I would just trade it as a range bound market. I would stay on the short side right now, but I would be a little bit more interested in the long side as they approach 113 here. So these areas down here is a pretty good support area. So getting long against the 26s, 20s, 12s, down to the 07 and the buck, the 113. Definitely opportunities there for rotations back up again. Which one is going to hold, and if they're going to be intermediate steps, who knows? But it's just look for them and see what the market is doing it when you get there. This is a pretty good setup right here, I think, before the open. It'll run up here, stall like that, nice little stall. That's kind of exactly what you're looking for. Right now, staying on the short side, looking to sell strength, looking to sell against the 114.08, 14.12s, 12 to 14s, 14.20s for rotations back down again. If they trade about 114.20, I would look for a move after the 115 and back to the attractor. But that's how we kind of approach it right now. Let's see if they're going to try to take this even lower or not. All right, so that's the bonds. Back to the ES and the Nasdaq, and as I said, we got significant news come out this morning. It could set the market off in either direction. If the market reaction is volatile but not necessarily directional, we go full back on the analysis, which is staying on the keeping the short bias on until we take out the 60s on the ES, 67, 60s. That's going to be a key area on the ES. And for the Nasdaq, that area is going to be the 710 here and potentially 780 if you want to count that level outside the obvious. I always do that on the Nasdaq because they always overshoot it more than you think. So that's how we get started, guys. So we got about 10 kicks in, so I'll be crazy. But if it's the 13th, guys, just you're superstitious. You may want to be a little bit cautious. Alrighty, guys, I'll wrap it there. So good trading, and I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update later.